Well, good morning, everybody. It is 6 a.m. here on your Thursday. We got Grace and Jim and Matt in the studio. Gabe out live for you at the fairgrounds as we get going for a really great Thursday.
Yeah, Louder Than Life kicks off today. The gates open up at 10 o'clock, Gabe was saying. So, I mean, they need to open it up a little bit earlier to fit 175 bands out into the festival grounds. And it's going to be hot out there for all those people coming out to watch the first day of Louder Than Life.
Yeah, sweaty mosh pit, Matt.
Yeah.
Oh, that just... Do not put me on one of those. Well, if you are headed out to Louder Than Life, or if you're doing anything outdoors today while you're trying to battle that heat, keep in mind that an air quality alert is in place for southern Indiana and also for us here in the Louisville Metro. So if you are headed to Louder Than Life later today, just keep that in mind. If you're a bit sensitive to elevated air quality, then just keep in mind that it is going to be a bit strenuous throughout the later hours of the afternoon. A clear sky for us to start off this morning. This is a live look across downtown courtesy of the Shriners Children's Hospital in Lexington. Temperatures ranging into the lower 60s to start off this morning, into the upper 50s near Bowman Field. Temperatures continuing the range into the upper 50s for you folks over in southern Kentucky as well. Clear, quiet, and dry for us on satellite and radar. Continuing to go through the next upcoming hours, we will stay just like this. A very nice day ahead with lots of sunshine. Hopping on the school bus soon. The clear skies will continue with temperatures in the mid-60s. As we head later on into the afternoon, those temperatures will be increasing into the upper 80s and hitting a high of the lower 90s. Let's look at your bus stop forecast. More weather details are coming up soon. Here's an update on traffic. We do have a slow spot to report on. This is on I-64 westbound. This happened earlier this morning. It's going to cause a few slow spots for you. The left-hand shoulder is blocked and the right-hand shoulder is blocked due to a crash. I-64 westbound near exit 19A. Keep that in mind. Jim, Grace?
Matt, thank you very much. Now we turn to our top story this morning. The final chapter in the Crystal Rogers case is written. Brooks Houck and Joseph Lawson sentenced for their roles in the Bardstown mother's death and disappearance that happened 10 years ago.
Houck called a lowlife by Crystal Rogers family members before getting the maximum sentence. He was convicted of murder and has now been sentenced to spend life in prison. Joseph Lawson, convicted of conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with physical evidence, got 25 years. WHAS11's Alexandra Goldberg and photojournalist Jessica Farley were at the courthouse in Nelson County as Crystal Rogers' mother addressed Houck.
I guess I'm going to ask you these questions, Brooke.
A decade-long investigation leaves a trail of questions.
Did you ever think of how my daughter felt when you murdered her? Did she feel any pain? Did you make sure Crystal knew what you were going to do to her? Did Crystal beg for her life, knowing she had 5 children to come home to?
Crystal Rogers' mother, Sherry Ballard, with the still lingering question about her daughter.
You can admit your guilt, Brooks, and you can tell me where my daughter is, and that's your forgiveness from God.
For 10 years, I've lived with pain and anger and emptiness.
Rogers' daughters, Ashley Miller and Kylie Fenwick, speaking directly to Brooks Houck in the Nelson County courtroom.
You are nothing but a lowlife. You took a mother of 5 children away. I know you don't care because that's just who you are.
I have had so many sleepless nights, and still there are times when I pick up my phone to call her, but I can't because you all murdered her.
That's Barbara Roby, Crystal's aunt, not mincing words.
You didn't reach out to God before because you're too close to the devil.
For 10 years, I have suffered the pain of losing my daughter. Never once have I seen you shed one tear, not one tear.
Cameras weren't allowed in the courtroom for the trial of Houck and Lawson, but they were for their sentencing.
I hope that you slowly rot away in prison.
My only regret is that Kentucky doesn't have the death penalty. But then I think death is too good for you.
I hope you have the worst life possible because that's what you deserve.
Crystal's sister, Brooke Bryan, and her brother, Casey Ballard, speaking to Houck's character.
You've always smiled, but today I get to go home with my family, and you go to prison for the rest of your life, and I'll be the one smiling when I go home.
Sherry walking out to a room filled with relief, knowing they'll serve the maximum punishment. The defendants have a right to appeal. That case will go directly to the Kentucky Supreme Court. But still, as this case comes to an end, there's one lingering question. Where are Crystal's remains? In Bardstown, Alexandra Goldberg, WHAS11, on your side.
WHAS also spoke exclusively with Robert Boyd, Joseph Lawson's attorney, who told us about Lawson's reaction to his sentence.
Mr. Lawson was expecting it. Ultimately, we're glad to have some finality in this matter, and so is Mr. Lawson, so that we can move on through the appellate process.
Boyd said he has taken the first steps in Lawson's appeal. Judge Charles Sims signed a request for Lawson to have a public defender represent him in the appeals process.
The defendant is a convicted felon who is prohibited from being in possession of a handgun on 16 CR 939. The defendant is also on federal probation. Through investigation, the victim's cell phone was discovered in the same area where the defendant is believed to have discarded said items.
Michael Bullock appeared before a judge yesterday accused of killing a woman out in Shawnee Park. Bullock and the victim, Rachel Hughes, were seen arriving at the Shawnee boat ramp on Sunday, where investigators believe that Hughes was shot and killed. Authorities say that Bullock later returned to the scene with another individual who helped conceal her body. His bond is now set at $1 million. Bullock is expected back in court a week from today, September 25th. And back here in Louisville, the Metro Council has approved an ordinance changing how the city handles permits for protests. The legislation created some new exceptions, which will allow for peaceful demonstrations to take place without a parade or a parking permit, as long as protesters don't block emergency vehicles or prevent access to public spaces. Republican Councilmember Anthony Piagentini from District 19 says the goal is to level the playing field.
I'm giving people an equal footing as long as they're meeting these requirements. I'm reducing the burden that they can exercise their First Amendment rights. That is what we're doing here.
Supporters say the change makes the law consistent with how mayors have handled protests in recent years. Opponents worry it could create some confusion over traffic and lead to unequal enforcement. The measure passed yesterday with 4 yes votes, 2 no votes, and 1 present vote.
Cuts could be coming at JCPS, facing a massive deficit. At a board meeting to discuss the budget, district leaders warned the school board they're running low on cash flow. They said right now expenses exceed money the district is taking in. And we've learned the working deficit for this school year is $188 million. It's actually lower than past years, but leaders said the problem has compounded over time.
Our focus will be on understanding the root causes, working collaboratively, and building a sustainable plan that ensures long-term financial stability. And not only stability, but
It was still approved by the board, and now attention turns to the draft budget for next year. Superintendent Brian Yearwood says as the district makes cuts, it'll strive to protect the integrity of the classroom and student experience. Maintaining salaries and avoiding universal pay cuts is also a priority.
Well, it has been 10 months since the deadly Givaudan plant explosion, and crews are now preparing to tear down what's left of that plant, while neighbors are discussing what comes next for the large property that sits in the heart of Clifton. Metro Councilman Andrew Owen hosted a community listening session last night to hear what folks want to see in that space, and we heard plenty of suggestions when we were out there, anything ranging from senior living community to a community center. This session comes as the Architectural Review Committee, or ARC, has a meeting about the demolition on Monday. Now, planning the future of the site hasn't come without problems, as the city still has not been able to buy the nearly 3-acre property. Community members do hope that whatever comes of the site can bring some semblance of closure.
I want to make sure that whatever happens on that 3-acre site is going to be something that enhances our neighborhood and continues to contribute to the vitality that's developed here.
The ARC meeting is going to be online Monday beginning at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.